I will still use this very piece to cut. It is not easy and it is not easy, so I am coming back for another round. Yes, the journey intro. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're watching from. Welcome back to our fashion journey. Here we are still continuing with a detailed introduction to sewing stroke tailoring. So in today's episode number 5, practical video 2, we are having a practical pattern making class tutorial where we will be drafting a fitted female or a lady's senet shirt stroke blouse using a step-by-step method that I will be showing you in this video. So ladies and gentlemen, just subscribe and like, and don't forget to share this video. That's the only support I need from you. So guys, if you missed or you haven't watched other episodes, please, I request you go back and watch them after watching this. And I will be putting the link in the description box down below. So go and click those links. They will lead you to the videos. Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, let us jump straight to the practical class. We have come to our practicals, and this is the pattern paper piece I will be using to draft the female senet shirt on, but you can still do it directly on fabric as long as you follow these step-by-step methods that I will be sharing. Remember, if you are doing it on fabric, make sure that your fabric is on fold like this before applying any measurements. But as for me, in this video, I will be using this pattern paper. Then after, I will transfer it on fabric, which I will still cut while it's on fold. First, you need to calculate the size or working area of fabric that you need for your project. So here you will look at your measurement table for the shirt, then pick the highest body measurement, then apply this formula. You will apply the highest body measurements plus 6 inches for ease allowances plus 8 inches for seam allowances and trims, giving you the answer. For my case, the highest measurement in my table is the hip. So I'll get the hip, which measures 38.75 inches, plus 6 is allowances, plus 8 allowances, giving me 52.75 inches. Then you divide it by 4, giving me 13.18. So I will make it 13.5 just in case, so that I don't get a fabric shortage while I'm placing my measurements. Here I mark 13.5 inch working area like this. After, I square a straight line in this format. Now I'm done with determining my working area. Next is trimming it off. Caution: if you are drafting it on fabric, to avoid wasting the fabric, don't cut not until you apply the calculations that I'm going to show you shortly in the next step. I will still use this very piece to cut my other piece in this way. So these are my two pieces of 13.5 inches working area. Note, while cutting a senet shirt, the front panel is shorter than the back panel in length. So you need to apply this formula separately while cutting the front panel and the back panel. For the front part, you need your shirt full length minus 1.5 or 2 inches depending on your choice, plus hem allowance plus shoulder joining seam allowance, giving you the answer. Now for this project, my shirt full length is 26 inches. I get 26 inches minus 1.5, giving me 24.5 plus 2 inches hem allowance plus 1 inch shoulder joining, giving me a total of 27.5 inches. So I mark my 27.5 inches here like this. After, I square a straight line like so. Also, I trim off the excess from my front. As you can see, the front piece working area is ready. Now, I proceed to calculate the back part working piece. For the back part, you need a shirt full length plus 1.5 inch that we deducted from the front, plus hem allowance plus 1 inch for shoulder joining. That is, shirt full length is 26 plus 1.5, giving me 27.5 inches plus 2 inches hem allowance plus 1 inch for shoulder joining, giving me a total of 30.5 inches. So I mark my 30.5 inches here like this. Still, I trim off this excess from my working area. Before I start working on them, I first mark them on one side, which will be my on fold while cutting on fabric like so. The next step is to align these two pieces together at one end like this. Then I pin them so that it doesn't move when I start inserting my measurements. Next is working on the shoulder slant line. As you know, our shoulders are not straight. There is some slope in them. So to determine where my slant will be, I will just get the shoulder to shoulder measurements. I divide it by 2 plus 1/2 inch, giving me the answer. In this project, my shoulder to shoulder is 13.75 inches. I divide it by 2, giving me 6.875. So I mark my 6.875 here plus 1/2 inch seam allowance. So altogether, my shoulder to shoulder slope with this will be at 7.375 inches. I mark here also my 7.375. Then I square a straight line like so. Now, from this point, I will mark 1 inch downwards shoulder slope or slant. Then from here, I connect to this point in this way. As you can see, I'm done. The next thing is trimming this part off like so. We are done with slanting the shoulder line. Next is unpinning my pattern pieces. Then I align them again from the bottom in this format. Still, I have to pin them so that it doesn't disturb me by moving from each other. Okay, as you can see, now our back part is overlapping or longer than the front from this side. The 1 inch that we added for the shoulder joining, we mark it here like this. After, I square a straight line. Also on the back part, I mark 1 inch shoulder joining allowance like this. After, I also square a straight line. Okay, as you can see, now our back part is overlapping or longer than the front from this side. Now, the next is to fold back the back part to overlap towards the front using these joining allowances like this. If you are if you are doing it on fabric, it is easy because the fabric is soft to fold. Then later you can press it with an iron to make it stay in one place. But for this, since it's a paper, I have to pin it together like this. Now my working piece is ready. Next step is now placing my working horizontal lines in a vertical way. I begin with the chest line. To determine the chest line depths, there are mostly two formulas you can use. One is you can get shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2 plus a half inch, giving you the chest line, or you can use chest measurements divided by 4 minus 1, or you can minus a half inches, giving you the chest line depths. But for me in this video, I will use shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2 plus a half. So my shoulder to shoulder measurement is 13.75 inches. I divide by 2, giving me a 6.875 plus 0.5 inches, giving me 7.375. Now I mark my 7.375 here like this. After, I square a straight line like so. Now after getting this, the next depth line I will have to determine is the tummy, or you can call it the belly, the stomach, whichever. From the shoulder to the belly, it depends on the height of your client, but the range is between 13 to 17 inches for adults. But as for me in this video, my client is not too tall and is not too short, so I go with 14.5 inches. Then I square a straight line. Then I label this waist line or the tummy line, and also this as my chest line. After, the next line to be determined is the hip line. From shoulders to the hip line, it depends on the height or how tall or short your client is, but the range is always between 21 to 26. But as for me in this tutorial, my client is not too tall, not too short, so I give the measurements from shoulder to hip 22 inches. So I mark my 22 inches here, then I square a straight line across like this. Also, I label it as hip line. Then the last line I will have to determine is hem allowance line. Remember, in the beginning we added hem allowance of 2 inches to this pattern. So I come at the bottom here, I mark upwards my hem allowance of 2 inches like this. Also, I square across a straight line like so. I mark this as the hem allowance. Now, after me placing these horizontal lines vertically, next thing I have to do is inserting my body measurements to these lines. I will begin by working on the neck. So I get my round neck measurements. I divide it by 6, giving me the answer. So in this video, my neck measurement is 15 inches. I divide it by 6, giving me 2.5 inches. So from here, I mark the neck width of 2.5 inches here. Then from this line, I mark downwards neck depth of 2.5 inches. Here, then I square up and across a straight line like this. To get my perfect round neck, I come to this point. I mark diagonally 1 inch. So at 1 inch is where my neck curve line will pass like this. Also, I come up here. At this point, I mark diagonally inwards a 1/4 inch like this. Then I blend this point to this line with a curve line like so. Now, I have to cross check if my measurements can round up to 15 inches. As you can see, I have exactly 7.5 inches. When you multiply it by 2, it gives you 15 inches. There you go. So please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Please subscribe and like and share this video. That's the support I need. Next is inserting my round chest or the bust measurement to this chest line. For this tutorial, my round bust is 32.5 inches. I divide it by 4, giving me 8 and 1/2. So I mark my 8.125 here, plus 1 inch is allowance, plus 2 inches side seam allowance, like this. After, the next thing is getting armhole curve. I come here, I measure this line from here to here. I divide it by 2 to get the midpoint X. So I mark my midpoint here like this. So from this point, I mark diagonally 1 inch. Then I connect this point together in a curved way like this. Remember, the front armhole is deeper than the back. So I come here at this point, I mark inwards 1/2 inch. First, let me trace out my straight line. Then, using my free hand, I draw my front armhole curve line and I blend it to this curved line like this. So we are done with the armhole. Next thing is working on the belly or the tummy, or you can say the waistline. You get the tummy measurements, divide by 4 plus 1 inch for ease allowance plus 2 inches side seam allowance, giving you the answer. For this project, my round tummy measurements is 27. I divide it by 4, giving me 7 3/4. So I mark my 7 3/4 here like this. Then plus 1 inch is allowance. Then plus 2 inches side seam allowance. Then also I come at my hip line. I insert hip measurements, divide by 4. Still, my hip is 38.75 inches. I divide it by 4, giving me 9.687. I will just round it up to 9 3/4. So I mark my 9 3/4 here, plus 1 inch is allowance, plus 2 inches side seam allowance. Remember, this Senet shirt is going to have side vents, or you can say side slit. So as you see, from this hemline to the hip line, it is just 4 inches. And I need my vent to be long in length of 7 inches. So I come at this hemline, I mark upwards 7 inches here for the side vent. Then I square a straight line, which will be the new line for vent opening. After, what I have here is what I transfer here like this. I connect this point to this point all the way to the hem allowance line. Also, for you to understand, you connect these exact body measurements plus ease allowance in this way, so that when you are stitching, your stitches pass via these dotted lines. Ladies and gentlemen, ease allowance is a room or space between your actual body measurement and the cloth that you are wearing. I need to clarify this. Before cutting, this is the chest, a bust divided by 4 plus 1 is allowance. Then belly divided by 4 plus 1 is allowance. Hip divided by 4 plus 1 is allowance. Then this space is seam and trim allowance. This seam allowance, if it is big, you can trim it off using the serger or the overlock. So guys, we are done with the drafting. The next thing is trimming out our pattern. Note, for this point, you don't leave it sharp like this. You blend it in this way. Also, this one, I do the same. Then, we continue with the cutting. When cutting at the armhole, you will cut both front and back together in this way. Then after, you lift up the front part, then trim off this excess like so. Also, when you are trimming the neck, you lift only the front part, then trim it in this way. So, this sharp edge you can remove also. So guys, as you can see, our pattern is ready. But ladies and gentlemen, I really need your support. Please, your support is needed. You can support my work by subscribing to this channel, like and sharing all my videos on this channel. I'll be the happiest. So ladies and gentlemen, that's what I had for you in this video. Bye bye for now. See you in the next video. Bye, shalom, and God bless you all. It is not easy and it is not easy. So I am coming back for another round. So guys, subscribe if you've seen this video. Is very important. Subscribe. I greet all of you from wherever you are. Please subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go back to the editing side. Then I was supposed to produce this video today.